join me wherever you listen to your streaming podcast. Journey with me on this road called freedom, where I invite you into a safe haven. Come and have candid conversations with me, with inspirational stories and lessons presented to you by others who will help us identify our lane as we collectively come together on this road called freedom. Everybody, welcome to Road Called Freedom Podcast. Welcome back to our first Monday, and y'all know what that means. It is Mantled Up Monday. That means I'll be surrounded by men today. Yes. I'm excited about the conversation we're going to have tonight. We're going to be talking about the Kingmaker. I am a Kingmaker because I have a male child. He's my oldest. And I'm excited that he will be gracing this platform. He's been educating me on a few dating tips, ladies. You know, he's a full-grown man, so he can advise his mama bear about dating. And I'm so excited to balance out our conversation by having the Apostle John Wesley Williams II, right? So I'm excited because we're going to pick up a conversation that was started on Friday on his social media page. He's going to give you that information closer to the end of the show. And go check out the tips and pointers. And he and his wife, they've been married for 20 plus years. I'm sure it's a lot of pluses on the 25 side, more than the 20 side, okay? And so I'm excited. Do me a favor, click like, share, and I'm excited for you guys to comment. I posted the question of the day. Should be a hot topic, so I'm looking forward to you guys' interaction. Don't forget to share this video. Invite others. Start a watch party. I am ready to have this discussion, and I hope you guys are too, as we help men identify their lane on this road called freedom. We'll be right back. Well, no, we won't be back. My producer said I'm gonna keep going. So on today's show, we're going to discuss the process to kingdom manhood. 1 Corinthians 13:11 states, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. What does it take to be considered a high-value man? And that simply is a man of value and substance. The biblical principle is the beginning of becoming a king. The biblical principle gives you the responsibility of putting away childish things, not marked by age. On today's show, our special guests are going to be talking about just those things. Apostle John W. Williams II is going to join us, and my son, who's an entrepreneur as well. First, we're going to start off with God conversation. I know for those who've been following me, we usually start off with the evening espresso, but we're going to do that at the bottom of the show. So I'm expecting my loyalty based on a title and not the person, right? That's the question of the day. Well, actually, that's going to be the God conversation. You know, God conversations are from my personal journal. I journal and talk to God all the time. And, we were talking about my expectation on loyalty based on a title and not the person. And what that looks like is, we get caught up in, that's my brother, that's my sister, that's my uncle, that's my whatever, my pastor, my friend. And we hold them to their behavior based on a title where we don't give them room to evolve. I got caught up in that, right? I discounted some friends. I erred in discarding some relationships that I still needed because I did not have the wisdom to go through seasons of them not being able to live up to that title, right? and relationships evolve. So the conversation that I had with God about those things, when I went back to look over some opportunities that I felt like I missed, I asked God, where did I go wrong? How did I feel like I was behind the 8 ball? Like I'm in my 50s, and it seems like the things that I set goals for myself to do in my 20s and 30s, I'm past that mark. And when I went to ask God why, He told me, plain and simple, that I lacked the maturity and the consciousness to come bring those relationships in Him when they were going through turbulent times, and I judged friends, business partners. I judged them based on my emotion at the time instead of based on who they were maturing to be in regards to business people, friends, because relationships go through highs and lows. It's a balancing act. And so now I've learned to give people room to evolve, to elevate, and judge their title based on their behavior pattern, and not just those moments in time where I let emotion and anger get the best of me and made a hot-headed decision, right? So again, the point of this God conversation is take everything to God. Nothing is too small, and no problem or issue in relationship is too big for Him to solve, right? Loyalty, it should not be based on a title, but it should be based on a pattern. Let's move on to our question of the week. In our question of the week, I invite you guys. I want your feedback, audience. The panel will get this question of the week as well. I think this culture that we're in when it comes to dating or relationships is called the hookup culture, where it just seems like sex has taken precedent. And I want to know the thoughts behind it, meaning be it in the church, because now, especially with the church being closed, we hear about more relationships that should not be in the church. They're just hooking up. The church has become like a club when it comes to sex and relationships. So the question of the week is this: in this hookup culture, be it church or the communities at large, do we put more value on the sexual activity versus the retention of the relationship? Like for me as a woman, when a man makes a sexual advance and gives me sexual attention, or tell me I'm fine or something, do we put more do we confuse it for long-term retention? Oh, he think I'm cute, or he think I got it going on, he think I'm shapely. And do we turn that into our self-thought of thinking that means our relationship is going to last long-term? Is it sex-based or retention and long-term based? Do we miss hearing cues because we're leading with sex versus with actually an active listening conversation? That is the question of the week. I cannot wait for you guys to respond. I need you guys to be honest, because that's what we're having, candid conversations about where we are, because guess what? We go to church, so we're the people. And I believe if we heal these issues here, then when we go to church, we'll be better people. All right? So we'll be right back, but when we come back, remember, the show topic is Mantled Up Monday, the Kingmaker evolving from boys to men. We'll be right back, and our special guest will be right with us. All right.
This new podcast is going to be about building a relationship with Christ, building your love life not only with Christ, but with those around you, and building your personal inner strength. Jesus said the greatest commandment is to love, and love is an action word. Sometimes it's hard to love. You must do certain things in your life. First, you must shake it off and pack it up in your feet, because when you shake it off and pack it, He's commanded us to do. The first thing I want to teach you about love is not selfish. So join R&R Ministries on Sundays at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can listen to our podcast on any of your favorite networks, but be sure to tune in to This Is Culture Network.
Don't let the mask inhibit your style. Go to www.foxylipso1boutique.com and order our line of matte lip gloss in a variety of shades, colors, and bling with no mask transfer. And yes, we even have a line of vegan lipstick. Order today at www.foxylipso1boutique.com. Use order code UHURU for
It's roll fast. You know I be going fast. Hey, y'all, we back. And guess who's joined us? It is the Apostle John W. Williams II.
Hello.
And my son, Jarrick Bolt, my oldest. All right. So we're going to start off. Apostle, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for inviting me to be a part of the podcast. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm really thrilled at the topic that we're going to be discussing tonight. I am John Wesley Williams II. I serve as senior pastor, life coach, author. I do quite a bit of stuff, but
Where you pastor
I
at?
pastor at the Key Center International Church on we're off the northwest side, off the Beltway.
All right.
But I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. I'm married, been married now for 29 years, been with my wife for 33 years.
They sound old,
years.
don't they?
Sound old, but we keep it fresh, baby. We keep it fresh, you know.
Kingmaker. You done made it to king.
That's right. And so we have 3 adult children. 2 of them graduated from college, and my son, we praying his strength. He go get through. He go get his strength. Yeah. So that's who I am.
J Bolt, tell us about you.
Jarrick Bolt, I'm Kim's oldest son.
Ain't that a tattoo?
I'm a certified welding inspector, NACE coding inspector, part owner in the trucking company, Locked and Loaded Logistics. Pretty much self-employed, entrepreneur, dibbling, dabbling in many things. I'm glad this is a topic we're discussing tonight, and I'm on here for this because this is something we always speak about in private. So kind of be able to get a little bit of that out.
Man, look what I did.
He did out of me.
You did that.
She said, I did that.
So tonight,
Yes,
I want
help, but
they
that's
help a little bit.
a little bit. Let's sprinkle.
Let's sprinkle. So me and my son, we talk about quite frequently, I've come to a place in my life where I want my children to be open with me, so I've become open with them. So this topic today is Mantled Up Mondays. This is the Monday. The Kingmaker evolving from boys to men. A king owns property and covers territory. Let's be clear. A king is honored by his peers and has substance to add to his peer group. How does a young man walk through the process of putting away childish things, especially in the Black culture, where it appears long-held values are a thing of the past? Today we'll speak with this conversation is about just that thing, how we're going to bridge the gap between the generations. My son being the next generation and your son following suit. I want to be transparent. I love that you and Dr. L are so transparent about y'all road bumps, because for me, where our parents' generation, our parents were siblings, and their generation covered, and this podcast was started because I was struggling to know my mom as a woman. I knew her as a mom, but because they kept so many of their emotions wrapped up tight, I didn't know her as a woman. And now I'm the age she once was, and I'm having some hiccups. I'm trying to figure it out.
Sure.
And I'm just searching for my roots to honor and respect her in that time that she grew up, because I think that what we do is we look at our parents in our time frame, but look at their history through our lenses and the resources that we have. And I think we're lacking the wisdom that if we place them back in their time frame with everything that was going on, we could really hold them to a high standard of honor and respect. I think that that's what's missing. So tonight, I wanted you guys on here again. I like what we talked about with the energy exchange Friday, vibration, because that's so unique. You know, I've been discussing emotional legacy. We talk about financial legacy. We talk about physical legacy. You know, you look like your mom, whatever. But I don't think we really explore the emotional legacy. Is the visualization of when you go through relationships, what you're passing down to your children, how to handle it. Is the visual concept of what we pass down to our children when it comes to handling relationships and vibration, if you would. Right? So can you just speak to that?
Sure.
With 27 years of marriage, 29 years of
29 years of marriage.
Right. That's a long time.
It is. I mean, and it's, you know, it had its highs and lows. We, of course, evolved as adults. We matured in our relationship. You know, but when you put it in context with the topic that we're discussing tonight, how do you mentor a boy to a man? What are the essentials that he needs? Unfortunately, you know, as we were growing up in our generation, our parents were so inundated with just trying to survive in many cases. That's not the case for all people, but when you talk about historically Black families.
In general.
I'm
not talking about the ones who were fortunate enough to be middle class, because that was rich in our parents' time.
Yeah.
I'm talking in general, the average everyday Black person.
Right. They struggled. My parents, even though they struggled, they provided a good life for us as children. But by doing so, their counseling, if you would, or their coaching was church.
Right.
So they relegated the responsibility for moral tools and to understand how to do life through church lessons, not so much life lessons. So while my dad was working 14 hours a day, he didn't have time to come to the football game and coach me through life. You know, the only time we had interaction is when I messed up and he whooped my butt. You know, so we learned the punishment part of life, but we didn't learn, or should I say, I didn't learn, you know, I'm 53 now. When I was in my early teens and going up to young adult, you know, I was left to my own devices as it relates to how to live life.
How to repair damage that you may have done.
Yeah.
You just learned to take the punishment. For instance, if in dealing with your wife, when you messed up, you learned how to take the punishment, whether that be her attitude and all of that, and you don't really have the tools to have the proper discussion to fix what happened.
Right.
So I speak to that because you're at a place where you've gone through some things, and now it's you. You know.
For me, this is where our conversations come in handy as far as fixing. A lot of I grew up without my father. So thank God to you, I've learned to appreciate our relationship as I got older. It's hard for a lot of men, especially growing up without fathers, to understand how sensitive women could be about certain things. You know, we haven't dealt with that. We have a lot of things like the internet, for instance. Like I was talking with someone earlier, it agrees to any perception that you have. Any perception that you have, that internet will agree with.
Sure.
So just imagine, we always speak about what the younger kids are going through with the internet. Imagine what we, as growing adults, trying to figure out things on our own are going through. You know, we're looking for that guidance through either maybe Google, Facebook, some way of logic that what we feel is logic is, you know, our guidance.
So you end up getting information that agrees with where you are, which goes back to what we discussed Friday, vibration. You are what you attract. You know, in your evolution, you tend to attract, and if you don't recognize those things as mirrors reflecting your brokenness versus agreeing with their brokenness, right? If you don't have the wisdom or the emotional legacy to put things in perspective, I can say as a parent, I wasn't comfortable starting this platform, but I can see where it's helped me to own up to, well, dang, I started off with my mom and my dad's tools, but I see that's not effective with my own children.
Sure.
So my style of parenting is different. I tried to put men in my kids' lives, but unfortunately, those that I consider mentors were who I attracted because of my brokenness, right? And so now I'm going back with my kids and transitioning that emotional legacy, which has really been a 5-year active part, to get them to see me as a woman and not mama, because they're grown now, right?
Sure.
And so I need that separation to say, boy, I'm trying to figure it out like y'all are, So
let me just say this, when you take all of this and you understand, just to kind of bring some, some cohesiveness to it.
mm-hmm.
I started out by talking about, we lack certain skills based on we didn't have those examples there, or our parents never had the time to really give us the tools to go from adolescent to teen. We were learning on the football field. We were learning through our peers. All right, man, get you as many women smash as many as you can. That make you a man. Get you a car, get you a job. That's gonna make you all that. But there was nobody really coaching us into how do you build this I call it the garden, your own garden. Build this garden where you are cultivating something to invite a woman into, versus you building something with her, and then because y'all don't have no covenant, y'all ain't married, you just shacking, or you just kicking it with each other. The minute things go awry, she take her stuff and go her way, then you take your stuff and go that way, and it leaves broken promises and broken experiences.
Because I get to talk to my son frequently, I'm proud because for me, emotional legacy is to take the tools and then broaden it and then give it to your children. And my son has 3 girls, and I love the girl dad in him, but I love him as my son because I've watched him get information and navigate through it quicker than I did. Right. So I feel like I've done something right. Can you speak to that though? Like what Apostle just talked about?
For again, what you spoke on as far as our peers in front of us getting a car, you gotta have money, you gotta have as many girls as you can. Like imagine the pressure that is going on inside of a man's head, or a little boy, a teen, whoever. The pressure that's going on inside his head as he's going through these stages with no one else to talk to. That's a big deal. He's
that's above his level.
Exactly. He's going into his adulthood with those issues.
Yeah. And then imagine having a baby on top of those pressures, and then now having the responsibility to navigate that baby through all of those processes that you don't feel like you were adequate to navigate yourself through.
You're still young. You got things you want to do. You still feel the party or whatnot, and exactly like you said.
And so what typically happens to young men who are trying to navigate through that process, if they don't have a mentor or a family member or a pastor that's kind of helping them, we have I call it mentor millionaires. Our young men, I mentor them to own their own businesses, start their own podcasts, do stuff that's going to enhance the ones who want to play sports. We have some of the guys at our church. They are in college playing sports, and they aspire to be football players.
They're reaching for them.
Right. Yeah. But see, you can gain all this stuff that the world says make you attractive, make you popular, and still be empty inside.
Back to the opening scripture that said
when I was a child.
Right. And that scripture, so often we want to tie manhood to an age when that scripture ties it to your ability to be disciplined enough to look at your issues and say, that's childish.
Right.
I've outgrown that. Even if it means outgrowing a relationship with a peer because they don't see it that way. they're still running women when you want to be settled. They're still cheating on their main thing when that's not your character. You know, and the Bible declares back to energy, one of the two spirits are going to do the drawing. So do you think you're going to draw him because you're disciplined enough to put away childish things? Or do you think that he's going to draw you and you're going to have a oopsie that may take you a minute to repair? Because now you have, on top of the pattern that you established, but you are growing and maturing from, now you have an oopsie back into that pattern and it dismantles other relationships.
Yeah, but I think pain, you got maturity, physical maturity. Right. You got spiritual maturity, but you also have mental maturity, which has to do with emotions and stuff, which we call the balance of life. You balance in spirit, natural, mental. All of them become the balance of life in a man. And since we specifically talking about men, most men, they suffer in the mental part. Yes. Now they may grow. Yeah. So they may grow. We may grow physically. Yes. We grow. We mature in age. So now that gives us stability where we used to wait for ideology that says in order for you to be successful, you need to do what we just talked about. Get money, get a car, get you a girl. That all says you're successful, but you're not mentally prepared to handle them, because then sex gets involved, which is a whole nother subject within itself. It gets involved. Yeah, but then I'm vibrating the pains of my past instead of the promise of my future. So I'm vibrating not what I can be, but what I missed in my past.
And you stay stuck in that moment. Can you talk about that, babe?
Yes, especially from, like you said, staying stuck in the past. I've been reading a book called The Alchemist, and it basically tells you that most men in their older ages live with regrets. For my life, I made the decision not to live with those regrets. If I want to accomplish something, I'm going to do it now. I'm still the same thing in my little girl.
What does it cost you? Talk about, because I find that men who are disciplined, who are evolving to become the new term that people are throwing around as high value man. Really, that's a man of substance, value, discipline. He makes the hard. He has the discipline to make the hard decisions. Because for me, the temptation of what you want to do doesn't go away, no matter how mature you are. It means that because you want to be this man on this caliber, you make a decision when that temptation shows up to be this, in spite of the pull of that. So talk about what it has cost you, because I know it's cost you.
It's cost a lot. It's a lot of pain. Like I said, we as men go through sleepless nights, heartaches. You never think about what a black man deals with walking outside of that door. And a lot of relationships, and I'm not speaking for all women, but a lot of relationships tend to focus on what the woman wants. A lot of men hide a lot of pain that they're going through, and they're able to walk through the door, process it, and understand they're at home, and they leave that outside. So you never really see the pain of a man.
It never gets dealt with.
It never gets dealt with.
So you can't. So in this sex culture generation, we talked about it, where you're forced to, even in what should be a safe zone, which is your interpersonal relationship with a significant other, you're forced to, what I was forced to do with the church world, is set that demon out here and say, I'll be back for you, because I ain't going to get healed in here. And so, because I'm not going to get my healing in a place that should be for healing, because your interpersonal relationship should be a safe place for you to relax as a black man. And I can attest, I had to look at, I didn't realize how selfish I was as a woman. Because I was conditioned to think about me. I was conditioned to think about, well, he may ask for it, but I don't have to give it, and he's going to still be here. And now we're talking, I tell you, hey, don't take that, leave.
Exactly.
We talked about your future plans. And if you look at it, this character from this woman will cost you this. We're not equating, the king at all costs guard his territory because he's a king before the queen shows up. Sure. And when we think about the Proverbs 31 woman, that was the queen mother telling her king son, don't let any woman come and oversee your territory. Make sure she's adding value to what you see as a kingdom. You know, and I think that men haven't really been taught that anymore. They've been taught to cave to the woman's will. Mm-hmm. This conversation is so great, and we're not going to end it, but we're going to take a break real quick, and we'll be right back. Before that, though, we have a throwback photo of Jarrick. I want to show before we get started. Let's see the throwback.
That's what mamas do. They try to embarrass themselves. Oh, that's a good one.
Everything was right, including pay. Mama don't have cheap taste, so you would have to pay. Wasn't that cool?
Yeah, that was cool.
Listen, I want to, so y'all may catch me on a day that I have time, so let me just help y'all with this COVID precaution. I get regular, and my team, we get weekly COVID tested, because ain't nobody here to play. And everybody's been screened, so we good up in here, right? And so we've taken the CDC guideline measures to heart. When we come back, we're going to talk about evolving from boys to men with our special guest, my son, Jarrick Bolt, an entrepreneur, and the Apostle Williams. Also, I have a surprise game. I want to play with them. We'll be back after this break.
All right.
Don't let the mask inhibit your style. Go to
Facebook, how y'all?
Don't let the mask inhibit your style. Go to www.foxylipso1boutique.com and order our line of matte lip gloss in a variety of shades, colors, and bling with no mask transfer. And yes, we even have a line of vegan lipstick. Order today at www.foxylipso1boutique.com. Use order code UHURU for a 20% discount off orders of over $25. Go to www.foxylipso1boutique.com today.
Welcome back, y'all. Listen, on social media, I want to hear your comments. Please like and share. And I also want you guys to respond to the question of the week. Now, let me ask my guests about the question of the week. In this hookup culture, I want y'all to speak to that. Do you think that sexual attention is being confused for long-term retention?
Absolutely. And I think it's by design, because we have a culture that's inundated with sex, from TV to radio to magazines, everything. And I tell the women in our church, the young women, and we got some beautiful young women in our church. We got some beautiful people in our church. But I talk to them all the time about their value.
How do we date though? Oh my God!
But you can be attractive without being slutty,
right?
And without oozing sex out. And I don't understand reality TV. I've even been to some church conferences where I've been looking at how they was dressed. And I was like, boy, my grandmother turned over in her grave the way they dressed up in here. And it's baffling to me how sex has evolved, this liberation of sex and this ideology of sex in the mindset that, that a girl or some girls may feel that dressing a certain way or looking a certain way or tatting their body a certain way or getting piercings a certain way, all is to attract men. But guys, you need to understand this, that everything is not about natural. There's a spiritual component to it. Right. And so what you have to understand is, in this sex-driven culture, people who identify who they want to date by how sexually attractive they are to them, all you get out the deal is sex.
Right. What do you say, son?
Pretty much the same thing he's saying, except from a another viewpoint.
Yes.
Like you said, I'm 35. So it's all about the looks. A lot of women are getting their bodies done or whatever they're doing to their bodies to fit in with the culture, what's going with
Process.
exactly. They're going with the flow of what's going on in the world.
So let me just pin in. Let me be a little messy, okay? Because
Don't be shady.
I'm gonna be shady with the church. I'm gonna be
Shady
shady
with the church. Oh my God! Here we go. Come on, please. Come on. Let's have this conversation. All right.
Listen, they've been heisting up them long dresses at them conventions. Sex has always been free flowing. They just covered it up in hypocrisy. Let's just say that. So the sex culture has just been hidden, but that's and that's why I love this podcast, because I'm bridging the generation of come on now. Grandma was heisting up the windows. Come on. They just
Not the women, Karen. They sneaking out the window at the church.
At the church. Come on now.
It was hidden better.
It was hit better,
but now it's in your face.
I think that because the church hid stuff instead of rebuked it and addressed it and gave us tools to come out of that.
Well, they did a good job at rebuking it, but they didn't get no good jobs as tools to compensate for it.
They did a good job rebuking, but their rebuking was hypocritical because they were guilty of what they were. And so when my generation grew up to understand, oh, you were sleeping with you and the husband and the baby.
Not all churches.
Not all churches. But hey, it's enough.
Yeah, if you come to the Key Center, we don't sleep around in the Key Center.
Okay, I'm just saying.
The pastors don't sleep around. I don't have no children from 30 different women. I got 3 kids from one woman that I've been with for 33 years.
Culturally speaking, however, the church is hypocrites because they were rebuking what they were guilty of, and now that spirit has permeated I'm a church girl. I love the church, but let's just call it what it is. They rebuked it, and my culture, a lot of my friends that grew up in church with me and their friends, we left the church because we got at least the guy would say, I want to sleep with you. In church, the pastor weekend is sipping peppermints, and then I grow up to know what that means, and now I'm pissed off because the man that I respected has diminished his character, and he wants me to accept his hypocrisy and tell me the world is dirty when I've been protected more by the world than I have ever in the church.
Well, I think that can be the case in some people's lives where their experience.
Yeah, church boy.
Experience.
God, Daddy, God is proud of you.
But no, listen, Kim. No, you take your experience, and it is not the experience of everyone. That was something. Now, I'm not saying that didn't happen.
A lot.
It did happen.
60% of the women.
But it also happened to men too.
It did.
By women.
It sure did. It was some dirty old women.
So dirt is dirt, sin is sin, wrong is wrong.
It is.
Whether it's in the church or out of the church.
I'm a church girl, and what I'm saying, the African American culture is what we're talking about. Our foundation was the church. The church was our social platform. It was our economic platform. It was our political platform. It was all of these things. And so, and generationally, like my mom's and culture was doing dirt, but now I found myself doing dirt and couldn't go talk to my mom about it because she hiding her stuff. And she looking down her nose at me. And all of a sudden, I'm burning to hell. I remember I told my mom, well, I'm going to hell on a black stallion.
Look, the millennials at my church, my children are all millennials. We have a lot of millennials at our church. And I speak a lot about righteous living.
You do.
I deal with it.
That's why
in their face, righteous living. Here's the sin. Here's what's not acceptable. Here's what God says should not be acceptable. It don't mean you can't have fun. It don't mean you can't date. It don't mean that you can't live your life but there are parameters and borders you ought to live within because you have a relationship with God.
Right. It ought to be reflected.
Yeah.
And I will say this, cousin, because he's my cousin, y'all. I do love the fact that your ministry addresses the gray area. Because the church, that's my frustration with the church. For instance, the elder board. The elder board, biblically speaking, is the board that counsels. Right. But these elders, you tell me your business, and my God, either they're going to take advantage of you or it's all over the church. And I went through a program where I went through UT, and I took a sworn oath that if somebody tell me something, not only am I not going to tell it, I'm not going to even discuss it in a manner where somebody else can pick up on it who doesn't have the right to have access to it. Why is it that the medical community, the social, the psychiatric community, all these other communities have more allegiance to the oath that they took before man than the elders have that they took before God? Mm-hmm. That is the bridge that I want to balance out. Sure. You know what I mean? Sure. And culturally, as a man, that's why I have you on. I have my son. Now, it broke my heart. Listen, and you know, I mean, what my family gonna do with me? Because I'm gonna say it anyway. I mean, what they gonna do? You know,
at this point, they can't do that with you.
No, take the bullet. But anyway, so let me just say this. My son said to me, and it broke my heart, but it was the truth. And we don't want to say this because that's your brother or that's your daddy, and you shouldn't say that. My son came to me and told me, Mama, I need a mentor. Mm-hmm. Now, my son's 35. I have 5 brothers. I have a daddy who's still living. Mm-hmm. He got 2 daddy figures, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. He can't consider none of them to mentor him from a platform of higher elevation because he hasn't seen some things out of them. Mm-hmm. Now, he's, like my mom used to say, eat the meat and throw away the bone. He's had to do that with the male figures that should be in a place where they've evolved mm-hmm. to kingsmanship, right? Sure. And so I love the fact that, you know, we did some stuff, but I can look at you and say you evolved. Mm-hmm. I was able to have a conversation with you last year sometime about something and talk about your evolution. You've evolved. Sure. And why do you think that men in our age group, because I'll be 53 this year, mm-hmm. and I, you know, man, listen, God's gonna have to say, that's him. I'm telling you, the dating pool of men 50 plus, I'm talking about the average man, 50 plus, and I'm only dating a black man, so, you know, that limits me down. I want no OP or Okie, none of that. No he-bop, none of them, okay? And I ain't being funny. I'm sure somebody will compliment, but I want a black man. So my dating pool has shrunk, right, by that. I found that the average man in my age category from 50 to 60 is still emotionally immature, and they make excuses. Well, my granddaddy did it. Well, baby, your grandma didn't work because women didn't work back then. They didn't have women's rights didn't come into place till what, 65, 66. So your grandma was a black woman, so she really was at the bottom of the totem pole. So she ain't had no choice but to stay there with grandpa while he was acting a fool. So y'all want me to be your grandma and take your unevolved self, you know, and calm down to it.
You know, that goes back to like we spoke about earlier. A lot of men, especially when they get into that age category, they're living with the regrets. It's a lot of things that, like, even me at 35, I've learned that, man, I wish I could have did this at 25. I wish I had that mindset. So imagine a man that's, let's just say he was in a relationship mm-hmm. and he just carried on his pain, burden, everything till he got 50, 60. That's just years and years and years.
That never got healed.
That never got healed. So at his 50s and 60s, all he know to do, his kids are out the house, he's going to act a fool. Because he spent and I'm not saying that's right either. That goes by his accountability and
there you go. That's
he has to be accountable for his life, what he's done.
I think
that goes both ways, though, because
you're right. This man, we're not talking about.
We ain't talking about the women.
No, we talk about the men.
So listen. It's just what Jerry said, Jarrick said, whenever there is this lack of healing in a man's life, he is then giving you the best him at that age that he is.
So when does he?
When he comes into alignment.
When does he say?
Wait.
I have tools out here, and I'm not gonna keep. I mean, I know that's a choice. Let's do this. Let's do this because we can't predict what another man do. Let's talk about. I have y'all on here because I've watched y'all grab tools. My son grabbed tools that I didn't even realize he was aware of. Child, listen, I was seeing him as my son. You know, I try to do the woman man thing, but he's my son.
Sure.
And so when he speak that wisdom and spit that game, I be like, who raised you? You know what I mean? Because all I can see is my son. I had him at 17. So all I can see is my son watching me be drugged, like abusive relationship. You know, I say this about all my children, but I wasn't necessarily a hugger because I didn't get that bad. So I didn't know how, I just knew how to suppress myself and put my head down and raise these kids. So I'm looking at, when did he become affectionate? I mean, where did he get that from? Because I wasn't affectionate. I don't hang up the phone and say I love you, but they do. So I learned to mimic their energy. Say it back, you know. And now I just do it back, you know.
Oh, you hang up.
So
She don't give you any time. She hang up.
how did you look at yourself, your life, and what gave you the tenacity? Because, you know, we repent and we mean it in the moment, but stuff come back up and and I understand me and being because sometimes I'm frustrated with myself, right? How in the world, what they call it the aha moment, but you got to have more than one. How did you stop? When did you make a decision to say, this is not my life. I don't want this in my relationships. I want my children to not have the hiccups that I did. And then put that practical thought into process.
Well, to make that long story short, of course, I brag about how long my wife and I have been together and we've been married, but of course, there have been hiccups along the way. And I won't even say hiccups, I'll say life lessons. And there was a time in our lives about 12 years ago when, or maybe about 15 years ago, where we, you know, I was at a place where I didn't want to be with her anymore. She didn't like me, I didn't like her. And so, you know, we were on this pathway to go our separate ways. I never will forget that, you know, during that time, you know, of course, I was out there doing whatever. And there was a moment that happened where I was confronted with where I was and where I wanted to be, and who I was with and who I wanted to be with. When I came to this.
Say that again real slow.
Okay. I was at a point in my life where I was confronted with where I was and where I wanted to be, and who I was and who I was with who I wanted to be with. And when I took that into consideration at that time in my life with having children and really, I've always been very affectionate and loving toward, I have 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. And so I've always, you know, been there for my children. And so I wanted, you know, just the idea that I would not their lives full time because their mom and I went separate ways. And, you know, typically children follow with their mom, you know, and then life comes in. If you go and find another woman, she's going to want you to give your attention to her children. And so, you know, it brings a level of division within the family. When I was confronted with that, God, I could, just as clear as I'm talking to you, God said, don't go that way. Go fix what you got. And when God told me that, I still didn't like my wife. I loved her, but I didn't like her.
Oh, you teaching.
So I went back to my own house and, you know, start trying to get myself together. I was doing well.
You were, okay, so that answers the question. You worked on you instead of focusing on what you didn't like about her, for legacy's sake.
Yeah, see, and that's why I said mentoring millionaires. That's not just about money. That's about creating an environment. Adam's problem when he fell in sin was he polluted his environment.
Right.
And whenever a man starts polluting his environment and poisoning his environment, now sometimes that poison don't come through the man's action, it comes through his connection.
Right. Right.
I want y'all to catch what I just said. It don't come by his action, it comes through his connection.
Think about that as a 35-year-old man transitioning through some things.
For me, that wake up came with my oldest daughter. I just kind of looked at her and knew I couldn't move about life the way I was moving about it. You know, it's gonna lead me back to where I was at. For me, life is the best teacher. I've made a conscious decision not to do certain things to discipline myself. Through the teachings of my mother, also, they always try to say a woman can't raise a man. And for me, I don't believe that because my mother's been everything to me in my life, whether she's right, whether she's wrong. For me, dealing with women, that's where the affection came from. She wasn't, for me, she was affectionate. What she doesn't see as affectionate, I never forget, I was in 3rd grade and I got out the car, didn't give her a kiss like I normally do. You know, as a little boy, she's like, give me a kiss. I don't want to do it. You know? She's mad at you. Boy, you better come give me a kiss. Yeah. The second time she looked at me like, oh, okay, that's what you're doing? You got a big chest now, you know? Yeah. Okay, so, but I've learned over the years that I have little girls. And for me, as a man that wasn't raised with all the affection of, I wasn't raised with both parents. You know, my mother did everything she could do for us. I wanted to instill that in my kids. Mm-hmm. I love having girls. Everyone always questions me about, you don't want a boy or you don't want, you know, go for that, a son eventually. And I'm like, no, because I love loving my girls the way that I do. Sure. I can be very affectionate with my girls. I can show them how a man is supposed to cater to their feelings, their needs. You know, at the same time, with respecting who I am. I still raise my voice. You know, I'm still Mufasa. Sure. You know? But at the same time, they learn how to forgive, move forward. They love. They come to me. I kiss my little girls, give them hugs all the time. So it's about breaking the generational curses.
Yeah. Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. Mm-hmm. And I tell people all the time, they don't understand that scripture. How does a man provoke his children to wrath? By being absent. Uh-huh.
Wow.
By being absent. If he's absent, it's going to provoke wrath in his children.
Because they're going to feel like something is wrong with them.
I mean, how many stories
something
have we heard?
Wrong with them.
Yeah. How many stories?
I can say, after I say this, we're going to go to this game that my producers have set me up for. I'll just surprise y'all. I remember just telling my kids, I taught them, first of all, to love their dad. Because my relationship with their dad was not their relationship with their
absolutely.
dad. You know, that's your dad. And then I'm not going to go and run him down for no child support. God got me. Mm-hmm. You know, if you don't take care of your business, that's between you and God, we're going to be good. So the key was to make sure I separated my anger, frustration, hurt, disappointment, and bitterness with not taint them with that. Mm-hmm. So I didn't talk about their dad. I didn't allow them to talk about
That's
their
so
dad.
Good.
And I didn't allow others to talk about their
That's
dad.
So good.
We're going to get this together.
You need to start a class on that.
I did that part right, not to pass my bitterness down. And I wanted to make sure that they were good and had a relationship with their dad. Because, biblically speaking, there's certain blessings only a dad can pass down. I need my kids being alive and blessed.
For the inheritance.
What you do?
Now we're going to play a game. Too many games that people play. All right, come through, Frankie. Okay, so I always call my son Jar to get advice. And Apostle, I trust your opinion. So tonight I want to play a game called Uhuru Needs Some Quick Help.
All right.
In this game, I'm going to give you guys some scenarios, and I want you to give your best advice quickly. The key word is quick. So you'll each get 20 seconds to give me some advice. First scenario. Oh boy.
Here we go.
How to respectfully get out of a bad day, because you know I just leave.
Jarrick, that's in your hands. I ain't been in the day.
I'm
just kidding.
You date your wife.
Yeah, I do.
How to get out of a date.
Knowing your mom.
A bad day.
My mama taught me to just be honest. I'm gonna tell you,
There
I'm not feeling this, and
There
this isn't where I want to be at, and that's as honest I can be.
Yeah.
You know.
So I can't do like I did before I go to the bathroom. And
Never
say,
show up. That ain't gonna work. You gonna have a stalker. You might have a stalker.
I know reasons he might not want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, girl needs protection. Okay, so
Okay. I agree with
Let's be
Jarrick
honest.
that you gotta be honest and you
y'all
gotta
so
be.
sensitive,
you
though.
got-
Y'all men get the tripping.
No.
I can't say that.
No. If a man is honest, if he's saying, "Listen, I appreciate your time, but I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, I'm not jiving."
Now, hold a minute. Now, okay, so y'all know I'm a different kind of girl.
Yeah, you ain't normal, so.
Okay, yeah. In so many ways.
We can't use
In
you.
so
You ain't
many
normal.
ways. But I'm just saying, I want a guy to say, I ain't feeling you like this, you know. And
What's the key word? Let's just be friends.
no, I don't even say that. I don't want to be. No, you didn't even
I
have
don't
a
wanna be your
friendship.
friend.
Let's just go.
You full, I'm full. Let's get out of here.
I got my hand.
Yeah.
I got my hand.
Yeah.
And if I have it, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Because, you know, I'm not mad. I'm not tripping. You know, I've had guys ask me for my number, and I say no.
No.
Oh, well, why not? Because I'm not going to call you. Why? Because I'm not attracted to you that way. Well, why not? This conversation is over. That's me. I mean, you know, that's just me because I like the truth.
Well, he wanted his feelings hurt if he kept asking. He's very persistent.
Well,
So he was asking for that.
That's the story of my life.
Tell me no, I walk away.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna keep beating you.
Come on,
Okay.
the producer's gonna beat us up. You don't stay on track.
Very. So when they want to tell me if I'm wearing an unflattering outfit, clutch my church pearl. That's a lie. Question. I don't wear unflattering outfits. However, let's play. How would you tell me that ain't cute?
I'll give you advice on how to tell somebody that.
Oh, yeah, give me
Shoot you
advice.
bluntly.
It's depending on if they want to be they were white or
What if the outfit just first date? Outfit just toe up.
what's the relationship status?
First date.
First date.
Don't say nothing.
I won't be too hard on you. I want to see. I will let look. This is where
Tell
I'm
me
prepared
what
of-
I should do. Like if I'm on a first date and his outfit is hideous.
How you attracted to him? How do you feel? How do you feel about it? That goes back to yo, how you look at it, man.
Your perception.
Your perception of it.
Now, let me just talk about me and my daughters. So if my daughter's getting ready to leave to go on a date, my son getting ready to leave to go on a date, when I look at what they have on, if I feel like it's unflattering or I feel like it ain't right, I'm gonna say, hey, come here. You need to rethink that outfit right there. But Daddy, what's wrong with this outfit? No, that you don't want. That ain't the right one. Because you sending out a message. You sending out a message that we don't send out in this house with that outfit. So let's go back and rethink that. And they respect me enough to say that I'm not coming at them like dad and like trying to tell them what to do. They respect my opinion because I'm not going to tell you something that's going to put you in a bad light. So I'm just, and you know how my daughters, they fabulous. They they divas. So
It's category.
Yeah.
I gotta go by what category I'm putting you in. We just dating.
Okay.
Don't mind your business.
You
You want
So-
to be my wife?
So if she look hoish and you on a date with her, you okay with that?
we're going to Carol's.
We ain't going to Carol.
We ain't going
So, okay, I'm at the gas station. I'm at the gas station, and someone approaches me rudely like they want to fight. Oh, I handled that already. That was real life for me. But I had to just help them understand that I just look cute like this.
But you can't get
But
the
it's
heat.
gonna pop
You
up.
can get the
will.
smoke.
You can get the smoke. My exact words were to them, please don't let this full moon energy get you.
Shut up.
Because I ain't trying to hit no kneecaps, but I don't know what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
You approaching me with the rumor. I don't know what you're gonna do.
Right.
I'm not gonna guess. I'm gonna let the moral figure out what to do with you. Right? Okay.
So you answer that for us. All right.
Going through a man's
Violation.
Violation.
I
Violation.
don't do that.
Off with the head.
Violation. My son said she a stage 5 clinger. When you start going through it.
What is it?
Stage 5 clinger. When you start going through the phones, you a stage 5 clinger.
So check this. How does a man feel about women starting over in life? Say they went through divorce and they like me and they fit this and the children gone, right? And I'm just looking at myself saying, dang, okay, I'm still young.
And beautiful.
I'm still cute.
So what's wrong with it? I don't see.
Well, I'm just saying, okay, so we have this, along with the sexual culture, the hookup culture, we also have this gold diggers culture. So for me, and it could be me, and it probably is me. I'm a little sensitive in dating because I don't want the man to think that I'm connected with him because I want something from him or want what he's worked for. Yeah, if we're gonna be in a significant relationship leading to somewhere, of course we're gonna talk about those things. There are some things that I'm working on, and I mean, like, I'm gonna be 53 and have some doggone braces on. That's because, I just now got the tools to do self-care. My kids are grown. I want some banger teeth. So, I'm get these implants and these braces. So, I'm just saying, tell a woman, and I ask my son this stuff about me too, I don't be knowing what I'm doing. I be baby streets getting rolled over. I used to get smashed over.
They say it ain't fun no more. It's a beast out there. That's what they tell me.
Oh my God.
It's different.
I mean, so,
you don't walk none of these streets. You right, I don't.
Stay with what you got, and that's eight. That's all eight. Unless it's abusive, listen, just go do like you do. Hear Jesus and go home
And get it together.
Water your
Fix it,
grass.
Jesus,
Fix it, because you ain't gonna always like the people. But I'm just saying, like, I'm at an age, I'm not necessarily starting over, but I'm starting from a different vantage point. Now I can really work on what I wanted, and it feels like a late stage, but sometimes men make it about, when I meet men, they give me their financial resume, and I'm trying to get to know who they are outside of what they have in their bank. Now, that's great that you are stable, but why would you put that out there and then act funny when it look like I'm trying to get that? Right?
I understand that. I think that, we just live in an unfair society where women are perceived certain way based on standards that they set for themselves. I talk about my daughter. My oldest daughter, Jasmine, is 28. She's getting ready to turn 29 this month. And she has really high standards for guys that we be tripping. We like, Jazz, you don't never get no man. Her standards. You doing self-care. There's nothing wrong with you identifying what as a matter of fact, in our couple session, when we do group couple sessions, we say, hey, write out what you want. God, the Bible says ask and it should be given.
And I've done that. Here's what I want to caution women to not do. And I say this all the time when I counsel, life coach, give perspectives, write out plans. I'm good at writing everybody's plan out. I look at me and like, I'm speaking in tongues when it comes to mind. But when I tell people, don't throw away the 5, 10, 15% of the flaws for when he has 95, 90, 85, 80% left. We focus on what we don't like. Unless one of the don't likes is a big thing, a non-negotiable. So you got to have a list of non-negotiables, okay? And then compare that to what you got.
I can work with that.
Yeah, I just think, going back to the topic, energy, vibration. If I get what I'm focused on. So if I'm focused on the fact that he don't open my door for me, when to be truthful, I don't really require it. It's great when they do. I love it, but I'm not. Well, one time I did fight about it just to be petty. I was being petty. I just want, because he said he didn't open doors, so I just made him take me all the way back to my car. You might open a door. It might not be the door you want, but you can open.
Some been open.
Some been open. I don't want to throw him away, but sometimes, can y'all speak to that? Like, how do you coach men to not throw the 85% of a woman away based on the 5%, the 20%, the 15% that you don't like about her? And that would go like to what you were saying when you went back to Dr. L. You didn't go back because you liked her. You went back because it was still something obviously that y'all could work on and focus on. Right. So how do you give us some tips on how do you not throw the woman away? I be feeling like that. Ooh, y'all men picking like women these days.
So what you got, sir?
It's a fight. You have to. It takes prayer, a lot of God, and you have to be willing to fight. For me, we live in a generation now where it's so easy to give up on things. It's so easy. The internet tell you, forget that. You have a song. They either play the City Girls or something, tell you go get you, sugar daddy or something. It's like you said. It goes back to like what you spoke about on why the men put out their resume on money, what they have. This culture is all about that. What you have, what you're doing, what you can you give me this? What can you provide for me now? And that's a lot of men go ahead and roll out the red carpet right off the bat. Look here, this is what you claim to see as stability. Yeah, I'm stable in this area. I might be off in everything else, but in what you're looking for, you want money,
what
you want this.
What you focus on is what you're getting.
I'm stable in that area.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want something from you.
Yeah, exactly.
I call it the Jack in the Box mentality. Yeah. So you drive up through the drive-through, you look at the menu, and you say, I want this, based on what your desire is. Mm-hmm. You go to the window, and they give you what you ordered. They didn't tell you it was going to be cold. So you got what you wanted, but it didn't quench your appetite because you didn't get it the way you wanted to get it. And whenever somebody enters into a relationship where they're driving up to the Jack in the Box and they making an order, they telling you, okay, here's what I got. And I'm telling you what I got because I want you to give me something. But nobody talks about the condition of what's being got. Mm-hmm. So that's how people end up with AIDS. That's how they end up with sexual transmitted diseases. That's why they end up with stalkers, broken hearts, because they went to the window to order or to get something they desire. Yeah, but they didn't get
what they want.
What they got it, but they didn't get it the way they wanted it.
And that's why I go to Burger King, because I can have it my way. When we come back, we're going to have Evening Mocha. We'll be right back after this break with our guests.
Don't let the mask inhibit your style. Go to www.foxylipso1boutique.com and order our line of matte lip gloss in a variety of shades, colors, and bling with no mask transfer. And yes, we even have a line of vegan lipstick. Order today at www.foxylipso1boutique.com. Use order code UHURU for a 20% discount off orders of over $25. Go to www.foxylipso1boutique.com today.
So we're going to have final thoughts. Apostle, tell us where we can find you on Facebook, social media platforms, where your church is located,
Yeah, well, listen, everything about John Wesley Williams can be found at the Key Center, mykeycenter.org. That's our website. It has all of our social media connections. You can go to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I don't do, what's the other one y'all do, Josh? Yeah, we don't do Snapchat. I'm too old for that.
Tell us about the relationship
Yeah, so we have a page called the Relationship Guru page. It's me and my wife. We share and we deal with all types of relationships. We are certified Christian counselors. My wife holds a master's degree. She kind of run all of our counseling centers. And, I just, come in there, I just fall in line. I let her do all the work. But anyway, we'd love to, if you're dealing with relationship issues, you can go to our Facebook page. It's called the Relationship Guru page, the Relationship Guru team page. And yeah, we'll be more than happy to have you. If you need counseling, we can help you with that. If you're looking for a great church, I'm talking about a church that's on fire. It's called the Key Center International Church. It's just a church where we are transparent. We love people, and we ain't faking, we ain't putting on, and we ain't acting. We just straight up, we must be doing something right.
Awesome teacher.
Because millennials like us, so we must be doing something right. Because millennials don't like too many people.
They don't go to church. They are heathens.
MyKeyCenter.org. You can get all the information about my book there.
Jarrick Bolt, tell the folk where to find you, not you heathen women.
No,
because I can check.
That's why I ain't gonna give out no IG. On Facebook.
Don't be in his inbox.
Just find me on Facebook at Jarrick Bolt. Me and my partner Adrian Tillman at Lock and Loaded Logistics, trucking company. And that's all the information I'm gonna give out.
Google them, y'all, if y'all interested.
Buy my Facebook.
And now we come down to the segment. It was Morning Mocha, and for this podcast, it's Evening Mocha. Evening Mocha is just coffee is soothing, it's calming, it relaxes anxiety, and people gotta have it. Those who are addicted, and I am addicted to practical biblical principles, right? So that's what Evening Mocha is. I have this script here. I didn't give it to my producer. Tonight we're going to talk about change begins with your thoughts and is activated by your actions. Right? You have opportunities every single day. The days ahead of you matter. Change your mind, change your thoughts. And if you're like me, and sometimes as seasoned in the word as I am, because really I am a church girl and I'm hard on the church because I want us to do better. We are the salt of this world, right? And I want us to have some flavor, Cajun that is. I sometimes struggle with asking God for wisdom because I don't sometimes know what that looks like. Listen, if you're struggling, just tell him you're struggling. Because in James 1:5-8, it says, if you lack wisdom, let him ask of God. You can ask God anything, and I promise you, he hears you and he will respond. If you relax your mind and stop looking for him to respond within your lens of how that response should look, it could come through a song. It could come through somebody calling and saying, I thought about you and just talking. It could come through any form. Take the lens and your box perspective off of God and just look for him everywhere he is. Because I promise you, everywhere he is, you're there with him because you are on his mind. Amen?
Amen.
All right. So coming this Wednesday, you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcast. You can search if you want to look at the show again. You can find us right here on Roll Call Freedom. And also you can find us on YouTube. Yes, I saw myself on YouTube and thought I was a star, baby. So, as always, I bid you good night, my loves, and goodbye until next week. Same channel at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hey, this is Uhuru Wingi, inviting you to join me wherever you listen to your streaming podcast. Journey with me on this road called freedom, where I invite you into a safe haven. Come and have candid conversations with me, with inspirational stories and lessons presented to you by others who will help us identify our lane as we collectively come together on this road called freedom.